All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Kenrick, and welcome to our podcast today. We'll be just talking about a topic I think that will be of use to you. But first of all, let me introduce my co-host, Ricky Emerson. Ricky, how are you?
Good. Hope everybody out there is doing good.
Me too. We're live all over the place today. We're live throughout Facebook, X, YouTube, I think Instagram. Man, I'm telling you, we're out in so many places. I can't keep up with it all.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk with you today about getting out of a slump. So everything we do is really about persuasion. Personal influence is equally right up there. And we'll talk about that as it relates to persuasion today as well. But one of the things that can happen to persuaders is they can get in a slump. Salespeople, I know, high ticket salespeople, doesn't matter what you're selling, we can all find ourselves in a slump. And I think one of the reasons that this is so prevalent for those of us that persuade is that persuasion is mental. And the least little thing that sets you off can also affect the results that we get with others. Uh, Ricky, you found that to be true in your own life?
Yeah, from managing teams and all that stuff, a lot of times a salesperson will have one bad experience first thing in the morning, whether that be work related or not work related. And what they do is they bring that negative energy into all the calls there, and then they just have a crap day there. So I always teach the team, you gotta, detach from the whatever's happened and focus on what you're going for because each interaction is different.
Absolutely. And let's start at the beginning. I want to work through a few different things that may be really helpful to somebody out there that is having some kind of a slump. So, the first thing would be identify the root cause. So this is just like a doctor, they'd have to diagnose a patient. How weird would it feel if you went in to see a doctor and he took one look at you and starts writing prescriptions and handing them to you? I mean,
Yeah.
e-
No good.
e- even in the US, they give you a cursory few minutes of, well, what's wrong? What brings you in?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, it's like they first have to understand you. All right. So here's some questions you can ask. Has anything changed? Are you doing anything different? If so, what has changed? That's where to start the investigation. Number two, is it your mindset? Right? Is there something, like Ricky just said, did you come in with something that started your day off wrong? Or, did you bring in a problem with you into where you're persuading? Is it your strategy? And here you need to really think it through. Let's say there's nothing bad that happened. There's nothing, strange. There's nothing that changed. Well, then is your strategy lacking for some reason? And there I would tell you, we're all subject to the whims of our market. Are they changing? Are they expecting something different than what you're delivering? And if so, is it a problem with who you're trying to deliver it to? In other words, if you're responsible for getting your own leads, have you fallen short there somehow? Maybe the company is giving you leads if you're selling, and maybe they've run into a difficult streak here for whatever reason. Doesn't mean it's your fault. Maybe there are other external factors. Ricky, is there anything that comes to mind along these things that you think about when you're talking with people you manage?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can do it easily because I spent years and years in like personal development and stuff like that. I remember one time, my grandmother, like I was in the middle of a call and my wife came in here, right? And that never happens, not unless there's an emergency. And she just let me know, hey, my grandma just had a stroke, right? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I was upset about that, but I had to take a deep breath, push it out, and still, you know, get through that conversation. And I had other conversations that day as well. So you can't let things knock you out of alignment. So I had a conversation with a very interesting guy the other day. He was, I can't remember all the details, but he was fixing to be put on his deathbed because he had something wrong with his lungs or liver or something. And anyway, the night before, um, there was a younger person who died, he and it was a match for whatever organ that he needed. And since then, you know, I think that's only performing at like 40%. So it's not looking good. Right. So he actually teaches people how to get through whatever the thing that he went through. He said there was only one time, Kendrick, that he looked in the mirror and he said to himself, I might die. Immediately he says, bullshit. I'm not going to accept that. Right. See,
Yeah.
that's the difference, right? I mean, one of the books that really inspired me was the Man's Search for Meaning book. You know, no matter what's happening in your life, you can always find the meaning to attach to it. So
Victor, is that
Frankl, I think, yeah, Viktor
Frankl?
Frankl, yeah, it's a short read, right? You know, it's one of the books I read years ago, but it still resonates with me. But when people get the diagnosis that whatever it is that he has, a lot of people say that means death. If you truly believe that something is going to cause death, how's that going to affect all other areas of your life? You know, but that guy was inspiring. You know, he said it just entered his mind for a split second, which hey, I guess it can happen to the best of us. But he stopped it immediately. Right? He says, "No, I'm not going to accept that."
You know, and that would bring us to some ideas around reframing, which I don't want to get into today, Ricky, but we can
Yeah,
certainly do a call on those things or a number of them.
yeah.
But you know, one of the sentences that I practiced on when I was learning a lot of these skills was cancer causes death. And there's so many ways of changing the way you think about it.
Hmm.
Really? Does it cause death or does it cause investigation to figure out how you can get past it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little change that has to be made, and that's all.
Hmm.
Does cancer always cause death? No. Are there times when cancer simply sparks in us the desire to change the way we live, do better?
Yeah.
Yes. So there's all these different ways of looking at something to flip their meaning.
Yeah.
All right, let's say we've got it figured out. We've diagnosed the issue, maybe
Mhm.
mindset, maybe strategy, maybe external factors. You know, let's say we've got that figured out. The next step would be to break it down. Don't sit and dwell on this giant thing, even like cancer causes death.
Yeah.
Break it down. What can we do? What are the pieces? How do we look at those different pieces? Look at all of them from a positive standpoint, which sounds good. I'm going to talk about a couple of ways to do that in a little bit. But here's the thing: what you want to do, don't try to fix everything at once. Look
Hmm.
at the small piece. See if so we've identified the problem. Here it is. We've broken it down into its component pieces. Which one would give us the biggest leverage? Okay.
Yeah.
So once we figure it out, set the right direction and build momentum. So again, fixing that little thing will spur us to be on the right track, which starts to change everything, turn it around, and move us forward. Go with that. Go with the momentum. All right. What if it's because you are absorbed in your own self, in your own world, and you are not having the same level of rapport that you might normally with people? Well, think about why you do what you do. Think about why you sell. And by the way, if your answer is only to make money, you're either in the wrong field or selling the wrong thing.
Hmm.
I mean, yes, we all work to make money. That's true. However, I work whether or not I make money, and I always have
Yeah.
because I love what I do. And, you know, I think behind every person that's really successful is that kind of motivation.
You got to have that obsession almost.
You know, if you look at Steve Jobs when he was alive, he was obsessed with perfection. I mean, absolutely obsessed. He lost his company, it was taken out from under him. But he, with absolute single focused obsession, started again. And then they wanted him back, right? And
Mm.
again, he was so obsessed and in love with what he does, with creating the perfect product. That's what drove him, not money. You couldn't spend all the money the guy had.
Yeah.
It was the obsession for why he does what he does.
Yep.
So if you're only doing something for the money, reevaluate, because you will run into more of these slumps than you would care to run into if that's the only reason you're doing what you do.
100%.
Okay, next, shift your mindset to one of making incremental changes. Figure out not only where you can make the first change, but the second change, the third change. And let me give you some ideas that'll help. If the slump comes from, your workplace, let's just say, okay, then how about connect with people, with customers that are in your program? Ask them how they're doing. Ask them to tell you about their wins. Reconnect with people on a genuine level. Help them to figure out what it is that they're doing that's working. Offer to help them. I mean, this is an amazing thing you can do. It can help you to connect deeper with people, and that helps the slump go bye-bye. Ricky, have you seen any of that kind of thing? In I know you are constantly touching base with your customers, and I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's, you know, as we both agree on, money is important, but when you focus on the bigger picture, and you focus there, the money just naturally comes. I mean, that's like when I was in the audiology business. Sure, like whenever I sold somebody some hearing aids, sure, I got my commission, and obviously I was happy about that. But seeing the transformation was what was more impactful to me than the money I got, right? And now that I'm in the online, high ticket space, I mean, same thing. I mean, seeing somebody, go from wherever they're at to where they want to be, and knowing that we played a critical role in that, for me, it just, it really, I like it. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I just like it. I like helping people.
That's exactly it. There's another thing that I want to point out that really can get us into a slump, and that is if you're projecting desperation, neediness.
Mm-hmm.
Neediness stinks. I say it
Mm-hmm.
long and loud all the time because it is always, almost, I should say, always an issue with salespeople. They need to make the sale. They're there to make the sale. And so you have to get out of that needy place. You have to be there in a different place, even if you have to just set it aside. Then set it aside, because neediness will absolutely cause people to treat you differently.
Yeah.
They'll treat you like as if you smell bad, like as if you didn't shower that day.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like the salespeople who are more detached from the outcome are the ones who produce more. Like even without adding any extra techniques or anything like that, as soon as somebody can detach, I don't know. It's kind of like you're pulling the prospect in instead of trying to say, hey, how can how can I bend over backwards to to make you do this? Like no, like it's like I said, just learn to be detached. This is probably horrible, but as soon as I get off the conversation with someone, I almost forget about them. Like that's how detached I am. I mean, yeah, I follow up with them and all this other kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, you gotta get detached. It's it's
Absolutely.
a it's a critical thing to do, and if you don't know how to do that, I would highly suggest you learning how to detach from the outcome.
So let's look at the sales process for a second. Let's say you say to yourself, well, something's up with my sales process. Okay. Let me quote from Jay Abraham. He suggests grading yourself on key selling skills to identify where you're strong and where you're weak. He says, and I quote, you could be only one skill away from doubling your sales. Once you know your weak spot, work on improving it. And of course, that's what we're here to help you do. But let me give you some real pointers right here. Has anything changed in your sales process? If it did, do you feel disconnected from it in some way? Do you not like it? It's important to own your process. Own every word of what you're saying and why you're saying it. Don't just say it because the script says, well, I'm supposed to say this now. Understand why the script says to say it. Don't just talk to because you have a script in front of you. In fact, learn to incorporate the script within you so that you are the script. You're not saying the script. You are the script. And so therefore, of course, you're saying it if you feel the need, right? But the fact is, if you're working on your weak spots, if you're owning your own words, years ago, Ricky, when I followed a script many years ago, I could literally say the script to you while thinking about what I was going to be doing that night.
Yeah.
I could literally talk for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Same here.
I don't remember what I said.
Same here. Yeah. And then we wonder why, the person didn't buy at the end, right? Because we wasn't fully engaged and paying attention to a lot of the things like sensory acuity, which you and I had this conversation earlier. Like sensory acuity is vital to have.
And everybody thinks they have it. Everyone thinks, oh, I can see, I can hear, I can feel. You can. The question is, are you in the moment doing those things?
If you're not in the moment, you don't have sensory acuity.
There you go. And being in the moment, there's a clear definition for it, and that is your five senses externally oriented.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to Ricky. I am in Ricky right now. I see through Ricky's eyes. I hear through Ricky's ears. I feel what he's feeling. I'm out of my own way. I don't exist. I am seeing, hearing, and feeling what he is. And in doing that, now, by the way, you have to teach yourself how to keep talking because sometimes you're so into the other person, you forget what you're going to say next.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of learn to do that. But that's how you get out of your own way. Orient your five senses externally, not like, do I look okay? Does my breath smell? Everything else good? My wife happy? My kids happy? No. To that person, five senses external.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And going back to something you said just a minute ago about scripts, like the way that I view them, like, yeah, sure. Like, almost everything has a script in the beginning, right? Just for you to understand the concepts and all that stuff. But look at it from concepts or targets. What are you going after by what you're asking? And if you only have like one pattern way of asking that question, what do you do if somebody doesn't answer that question? From what I've experienced for observing thousands of, sales calls and stuff over the years, people just, they don't answer that question. And then the next person just goes on like, hey, I got to get to my next question now. Got to get to my next question. And then they get to the end of the call and wonder why the person says, hey, I need to think about it. So if you look at it more of like concepts, like I do martial arts, and some areas I'm good in, some areas I'm not so good in. But whenever I look at it from a conceptual standpoint, I tend to do better. Like that's like jujitsu as an example. Like anybody who trains jujitsu knows there's probably 20 or 30 things that has to happen in order for the thing to work. One thing I'm starting to realize is control the arm. Okay. That's the concept, right? Sometimes I control it in a good way and it works, and sometimes it's not, but it's a concept. So I start off from concepts, and then in terms of martial arts, now I'm going to focus in on all the little bitty parts that make it even more effective. But if you know the concept, what you're trying to accomplish, you have that flexibility. So where if they don't answer, you can ask that same question in a different way to get the bullseye or target that you're after. Because if you're not getting these things, you're not going to get a sale.
Yep. So two things. Don't just say the questions or the comments or whatever because they're next.
Yeah.
Say them because it connects. In fact, Ricky, you and I this morning were talking about the fact that we sometimes don't even say them. So point two, you can skip certain things,
Yeah.
but if you find yourself in a slump, go back and review them. Maybe you've been skipping a section that you need to re-engage with.
Yeah.
So skip them when you can, but it doesn't mean you always can. It means five senses externally oriented and paying great attention to what you're hearing and seeing. Then, if you find in review that you've been skipping a section, well, bring it back into what you're doing. Make sure you're doing it for the right reason. Let me just cover one more quick thing. You know, sometimes we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We have to say, I don't think that anything is wrong in my life. Everything is right in my life, but I've gone through a number of no's. I'm getting people telling me no more so than normal. Maybe it's the leads have changed. Maybe there's other reasons. I don't know, but I choose to see the positive. We can always choose what we think. Nobody can force you to think negatively. You can choose to find the silver lining in every cloud. That's something that my mother taught me when I was little. Do I remember it always? No. Sometimes I have to go through a review like we're doing right now. Along with this review would come a review of your own values. Do you know how to do it? If you don't, in our Facebook group, and let me stick the link to it up real quick. In our Facebook group, there is training on how to do it. The training is no charge. There are 7 lessons, I believe, that are no charge, and there is aim your phone at the QR code, and in you come. Make sure to answer the questions so we can give you entrance. Okay, agree to the rules, but we'll show you how to do it. Here's the deal. It's only going to be available for a few days more, and then it's gone. So go there while it's there and get it. If it's too late and it's not there, well, you snooze, you lose. But it's there. It's free. It's there. All you have to do is go and get it. It'll show you how to elicit other people's values, and you'll be able to do it yourself. Is what I'm trying to say. See the positive. Understand that the positive stems from your own way of thinking, your own values. Move through life with those first and foremost. All right. Hey, look at that. I can see that someone scanned the barcode. Isn't that cool? All right. Good job. And get thee into the group. I'm telling you, you only have a few days and then they're gone. I can't wait to tell you why, but I will wait until they're gone, and then I'll tell you what you can do. All right, Ricky, that's it. That's what I came to talk about. Is there anything you'd like to add to any of this?
No, just watch those free lessons and pretend that you paid for those lessons, because when people don't pay for something, they don't pay attention. But when they pay, they do pay attention. So pretend that you did pay for this. Like the information on those videos is probably, he could easily sell that for $5,000 easily all day long. Go watch those videos multiple times, get it in your subconscious mind. So therefore you can actually start implementing some of these things, and just know, as great as that is, there's so much more beyond that. So, but get that down first, and we can talk about, the beyond later.
So look, if we summed up everything today, it's about clarity, it's about focus, it's about persistence, and it's about being kind to yourself. But think of it in terms of these things. Use the strategies that we've talked about here and move forward. And Ricky, with that, I think let's wish everybody a wonderful day and a great sales week. And we'll see you back here next Wednesday, right here at noon Eastern. All right. Take care, everybody.
Y'all have a blessed